And we are live. I'll go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for June 17th, 2024. I spoke with Councilmember Gronwald. She had something, a small family emergency pop up this evening and wasn't sure if she'd be able to make it. Invocation will be led by Councilmember Gardner.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day, and we thank you for the beautiful weather that we've been able to enjoy over the weekend, God, and we're just appreciative that we can be here tonight to conduct the people's business here in the city of Maumelle, Father. We just ask for your blessings on all that we do this evening and the decisions that we make. We just ask that we put our residents first in our minds with our decisions, and we look to you for guidance in everything that we do. Thank you so much for blessing us with a great workforce here in the city and great first responders that take care of us day in and day out, Father. We're so thankful that you bless us with the ability to live here, and we just ask that we can look to serve you every day and find others that are in need and help them in some way, Father. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We will move on to the approval of the minutes of the June 3rd regular meeting. You all received a copy in the packet. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion, second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to public comment. I have one public comment card from, I believe it's Lynette Murphy. Did I say that right? Come on down, please. Come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not used to this. I apologize if I make boo-boos ahead of time. I'm Lynette Murphy. I live at 175 Hibiscus Drive, Maumelle, Arkansas. And I came here tonight because I'm concerned about the mowing issue. I know that I have observed it for the last 3 years, that it does grow and it does get rather tall. And some of the information, I just kind of looked up some information just to see what type of hazard can be caused by the grass being so tall. And I did major in biology, just kind of give a little background there, so in education. So let me go through it real quick. When you have tall grassy areas, you can have a microclimate that gives you fungal diseases in your grasses. And as we know, it's unsightly when we have real tall grasses, especially when we have events here in Maumelle. We want it to look very manicured, and that's one of the reasons why we enjoy living here. It can also be a fire hazard, such as we see along the interstate. You know, even green grass can catch on fire. My main concern is that it can harbor rodents and snakes. And when we have kids, you know, that play outside or play near, you know, a tall grass area, you know, that's an area of concern. The insects that form within the grassy areas can also become our neighborhood pest. Mowing difficulties, if it grows too high, it can also be hard on the equipment, the mowing equipment. So that's an area of concern too, because that has to be taken care of, whether it's through Maumelle funds or whatever it may be. I did notice and look up some of the information under the agenda and packets, and notice that the grass, our grass in our yards cannot be any taller than 6 inches. And so if our grasses cannot be any taller than 6 inches, then we need to keep it manicured so that along the streetways, Maumelle Boulevard, South Odom, North Odom, those areas need to be manicured also. I mean, it just makes it difficult in more ways than one to have really tall grass. Also, I did check in around neighboring areas, like in Sherwood, they have a 6-inch limit. So for their neighborhoods and for their residents, and also in Northwest Arkansas, they kind of had a battle about that because the grasses were too tall. And so they had to limit, you know, the grass height there too. So that's just my concern. I feel like after seeing it for 3 years in a row, I couldn't ignore it any longer, and we've lived here for 20, almost 30 years. And so, well, 20 at least, no, it's 30 years. Whoa.
Time flies.
Yeah, it does. So that is a concern, and I wish it would be addressed. If they need more money to take care of this, and if you need to hire people, please do so. And I know they probably have a hard time hiring nowadays. There's a history of people not wanting to work, and we've kind of experienced that in some of the business areas that I have spoken with other people about. So whatever it takes to get this taken care of, especially during the summer months, spring, summer, and fall, please take care of it. And I appreciate you letting me speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
I forgot we had that footstool there.
Oh, I know. I'm like, I'm hoping I'll
You got
trip on
suddenly
it.
tall on me there. Thank you very much. I'll probably address a few of those comments I was talking with Hogan during Mayor's comments. But we will move on to the financial statement review. Ms. Sousa, come on down.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Well, we are going to review today May. I'm just going for the highest variances. In the first page, where we see the general fund, we have the property taxes. As I commented before, they were paid to the city between April and May last year. And for 2024, we have collected 120,000 more than last year. In the city and county sale taxes collected during 2024, we noticed that they are lower than 2023. So we have 110,000 variance so far. So we don't know what are we going to be here. In the miscellaneous revenue, and I was just reviewing with Mr. Mazzoni, we have insurance proceeds from all the departments. That was very interesting. So including also police and fire vehicles. So it was a lot of money coming here. And some of them were also for the storm damage to our vehicles, the roofs and everything. So almost the amount of the insurance we already collected, it is around $600,000. So thanks to our city clerk for the coverage here. And if we go to the next group of expenses, the first row, you see a red number there because we do not have budget. It's 70 million that we need to identify to which department belongs to, because you know how we were collecting and allocating the money that we got for insurance. We want to allocate it to the different departments. So we use the general row just to stand by and then transfer it. We didn't have time to finalize this. Next time, that line should be zero. We allocate everything by department. So we also have a big differences in police, in fire, and public works. There is nothing more to say here. Remember, salaries and benefits were approved for this year. We are within budget, but of course you will be looking these variances against 2023. In the planning and permits, we have 43,000 because it was the purchase of the annual pages, the Pulaski Area Geographic Information System that we didn't pay before. This year they started, and we have it in budget. So it is okay, it's just I'm talking about the variance we have. In the city services, we have some expenses that have been much higher than last year. For example, we had paid 50,000 more on audit services so far. We also have computer maintenance increased like 61,000 more or less. And as I was telling you, the property and vehicle insurance is higher. So we are still analyzing with the mayor how is the best way to go, but definitely was much higher, and we needed to be covered and unfortunately we were covered, and that's why we were able to receive the claims, the money. So it was one for another. We have more expense, but at the same time we got the reimbursements, and that is good for the city. So I explained this, but yes, you will see more expense, but more revenue. So in the second page, we have we also have capital expenditure. Sorry, I missed in the first page. We pay $400,000 for the pickleball complex so far. The shelter in the animal services was painted, and we bought some police cars. So those are the capital expenditures we have had this year, and everything is within budget. In the second page, you can see the fund balance, that our fund balance so far is $14 million. It is good, in good health. It is above requirement, $9 million. The requirement is 20% of the operational expenditures. Budget is 4.7 million. So we are okay. In the next page, we have the streets fund.
Can I speak to that really quick?
Yes, please go
General
ahead.
fund balance. I believe there are some fund transfers that'll be occurring from the budget, so that'll be reflected the next time around. Some of those were transfers to the capital improvement fund and those sort of things that were in the budget, and so we anticipate that number will go down as we transfer the money to the appropriate funds.
Yes, and the plan is to do it this month. I wanted to finish with audit and things like that, and this is my catching up months for these things. So yes, we have that pending. In the next page, page number 3, is our street funds. I have already explained you, but the way we are getting the money from Treasury Department changed. They are paying us less for city street day programs, but they are also paying us more for turnback. So they just changed the numbers. So the budget looks strange, the variances, but we are okay. In the capital expenditures, the street department, they already started all the path improvements, the street overlays, the stripping is around $400,000 they have spent so far, and $200,000 for a truck. The fund balance in here, that is in the bottom part of this page, it is $5 million. It has reflected the reduction that we have of $185,000 in this year as of May. But the fund balance looks okay, and everything is within budget. In the next page, we have our sanitation fund. And our sanitation fund has the same trend as in 2023. The main change is in capital expenditures, as we bought a 2021 Freightliner during 2023. If you notice, we have expenditures higher than revenue for $139,000 so far, and our fund balance is $600,000 only. So this is where we are working to make an adjustment in the revenue. Then you have in the next page your police and fire fund, informative purposes only, just to see how we manage the expenses, how much we have received so far. $600,000, and we have spent $800,000. That's all what I have. Some financial updates. 2022 ACFR, as you know, was finalized. So the report was already presented to all the different authorities that required legislative audit and bonds for fixing the rating. That, do you remember, we were like punished for that? I'm working on that with the bonds company to fix it. The single audit for the audit was not necessary because we did not get more than $750,000 in federal grants in 2024. So I just reported like in blank. Then we have our invoicing approval process is within OpenGov, as I told you, and is working well. Every department, every level is approving through the system. Everything is electronic. We are okay there. We are also setting up different vendors via electronic transfer. ACH is accounting clearing house, and it's also working properly. We go very slow there because we want to be sure that they give us the right data to set them up. Once we validate, then they can be in our process. Talking about the settlement with for the park on the river with Timmons, we collected the settlement, and she continues paying the monthly rent on time. So we are also catch up there. So that's all what I have for today.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the financials? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, are we still planning to kick off the 2023 audit in July?
Yes,
And have it finished by the end of the year?
yes,
Good. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Any additional questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. With that, we'll move on to unfinished business. The first and only item of unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance 1127, amending the city code. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1127, an ordinance to amend the Maumelle City Code to provide a penalty for council members' repeated absences from meetings and for other purposes.
Thank you very much. I believe the city clerk told me that the wrong version, the older version, was the one that was placed back into the packet, and then the more updated one as amended was provided to y'all at your desk. But I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is none, I'd entertain Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, do we need to, since the wrong one was in the packet, do we need to vote to add this to the agenda, the new one?
I'll let the city attorney answer that. Historically, we haven't. If the wrong one was put in, we typically, as long as it's passed out before, have gone with that. But Mr. City Attorney?
I concur with the past practice. I think it's enough we've read it by title only, and everyone has a copy of the correct text. So there's no confusion, basically.
Thank you, sir. Was there I did hear a motion. Was there a second on that motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a motion to adopt? Councilmember Holt?
Mr. Mayor, all I will say is that I think I'm not opposed to this as I see it, but it should be a living, live order that someone who has an issue of some kind and has to be absent beyond their control, that maybe they should have, we should have amendments of where they could have a time to present their case to the council, and maybe there are certain extremes that would allow them to not be, allow them to be excused during that period of time without penalty. Just something that gives it's a live ordinance, and it should not just be final one thing. There should be options along the way so that everybody is well served.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Holt, that sounds like a clever way to get someone to show up if they've missed more than 2.5 months, if they have to come to the city council and present their case as to why they can't make council meetings. It's a fun, clever way to get someone to attend. Yeah, I say 2.5 months, just a reminder that 5 regular meetings in 1 calendar year is 2.5 months of meetings, is how that breaks down. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I have some reservations still about this. I understand what everybody's trying to do, and I don't blame you. It's a very unusual situation when this happens, and I don't think in the past we've ever raised the issue or asked the person that was sick to change their habits or anything like that. So I don't know. I actually like the first version better. I would have probably voted for that. And I'm probably going to vote against this one, but again, it doesn't make that much difference to me, but because I know what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The one thing that's interesting to note is it because this has come up recently, and not this year, not in the last year and a half or so. It feels awfully personal if you're making the rule or asking someone to change their behavior and the rule wasn't in place before they got there, right? So I would have folks that asked me to talk to a council member who was ill and unable to make it, and or even asked me to sponsor something like this, to which I was like, I don't care how you frame it, there's no way for me to come in and propose an ordinance that changes the compensation, at the time. That's a very personal thing. The one advantage you have about doing it now when we're not thinking of anyone is that this is by no means aimed at any individual. And so if we're ever going to change it, I think the time to change it is before you've got the name and the face of the person, like you're thinking of someone in your head that we're having to change the ordinance to address that issue. So just my thoughts on that issue. Councilmember Tierney?
Yeah, this is one of those things where, the council, coming to the meetings is only a small part of what we actually do on the job. So I can understand why some people would have, reservations on this. But the important thing about the meetings is this is where the votes take place. And if you're absent, that's an automatic no vote. And so 1 or 2 people could literally vote down something when they're in a very vast minority, but because they have the no votes all on their side, you can see ordinances and resolutions fail just on 1 or 2 votes. So that shows the importance of attendance because this is where we express the will of the public and do the final stamp on our job. So that's why I'm in favor of this, is because if you're missing 2.5 months, that's a lot of no votes.
And that's 2.5 months, and it doesn't have to be consecutive, but that's 2.5 months in a single calendar year.
Right.
And the complaints that I got, ultimately I think I'm in favor of this, but when I got on the council, as you two, Councilmember Mosley, we were paid by the meeting. It was per meeting, and that worked for a while. I understand why that might be too strict, because the job is way more than just what happens at the meeting. I had people who came to me that felt like they weren't getting their voice represented on the city council because they had half of the votes of every other ward, because they only had half of the council member representation for that period of time. And that was an interesting way, and that kind of dovetails into what you were saying, Councilmember Tierney, which is this idea that attendance by no means is, in fact, you all probably do more work not in council meetings than at council meetings. But if you can't vote, you're not, at some point you're just not representing your constituents as fully as you could. Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we ever have any clarity on whether or not this could apply to council members that are still within their term, since it could be seen as being a reduction in benefits?
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, I did look into this. I didn't find any authority directly on point. My reasoning would be that it would not violate that statute because the city code already requires council members to attend the regular meetings. So we're not adding a new, see, for example, suppose you were elected and then it added a whole new requirement or something, and there might be changing the rules after you've been elected, but this is just adding a penalty for failing to do something that everybody knows is already required.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, you made an argument there in favor of going ahead and passing this, but is that your same opinion? Do you feel like this is the right ordinance for this?
I think we could argue about the details of the thing. I think there needs to be, I think at some point, if you're just missing a massive amount of your major responsibility, that there should be some incentive to find a way to get someone to show up. And if someone is incentivized to show up by this, then it seems, yeah, I'm overall in support of it. I don't know that I would have wrote it precisely like this, but I have no heartburn over it. Again, when we started, it was just a paycheck per meeting that you attended, which I think is overly restrictive, because then if you miss one meeting, you miss one compensation, but you may have spent, days with your constituents and, hours and hours of emails and phone calls, and you all know how that works. So overall, I think it's a fair ordinance.
Okay, I may go ahead and vote for this.
Is there any additional discussion? Did we get a motion? I don't think we did.
Motion to approve. Second.
I've got a motion to approve and a second on ordinance 1127. Is there any additional discussion? Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
I'm gonna vote yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gartner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams. Yes. Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Ordinance 1127 is adopted. That brings us to new business, and the first item of new business is Resolution 2024-23, approving economic development service contract. Madam City Clerk, if you please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-23. A resolution to approve an economic development services contract with the Maumelle Area Chamber of Commerce.
All right, before we get to this and I open the floor, I'd like to invite Kelly Wall on down to tell us a little bit and give us an update on the goings-on with the Chamber of Commerce.
I apologize. I have been out of the office today, so my notes are on my phone, and I'm not going to get on this stool because I'll be way tall in these heels. I just wanted to kind of update you guys on some of the plans for the rest of the year. Thank you. After the eclipse, after we survived the Eclipse Festival. So June, we kicked off our quarterly Lunch and Learn series. We're partnering with the Arkansas Small Business Development Technology Center to do quarterly series. The first one was about learning about Maumelle and the consumer spending and those things. The next one will be about small business funding, marketing, those type of things to help our businesses. Courtney and I, your economic developer, also attended a business retention and expansion conference this month in June. And we are working on a business retention expansion plan together, and also in the process of starting an industrial council where we'll meet quarterly with our industrial and manufacturing leaders to make sure that we're helping them in the areas they need assistance. We've also started a dine-in Thursday, started last week, so we're going every Thursday to local restaurants just to support those, just come and eat, talk, network, do those type of things, just to support those, because I know they have trouble getting out and coming to any event, so we're going to go to them. July 11th, we have Economics Arkansas coming in, so we'll have about probably close to 40 to 50 teachers from around Pulaski County School District who will come to Maumelle. We're going to meet at Park on the River for a quick welcome to Maumelle breakfast, and then we will go and tour Kimberly-Clark and Land Packaging. And then after that, they serve lunch, and we will have a panel of our industrial experts talking to the teachers about what they need to be what they're looking for new hires and for employee and stuff like that. So just kind of get to know what they're looking for in that area, to let the teachers talk to them. September, we are going to kick off the Maumelle Leadership Program. Since I've been here, that's been something everybody's been asking for me to bring back. And so once we got through all of that festival business, we were starting that. So that will kick off in September. It will be a monthly meeting from September through April of 2025. We have lots of neat things planned. We'll be coming here and learning about how to be a city council member and pretending to pass resolutions and things. We'll go to the Capitol. We'll do military tours, all kinds of things. Each month we have a different plan. In September, we'll also be starting, crazy enough, the production of the 2025 Maumelle City Guide, because that takes us about 3 months to get through, so we can get it out in January. On October 2nd, Courtney and I are also planning together an interactive career expo in the morning, which will be we're targeting like 5th and 6th graders, and then it will open up that afternoon as a job fair. And so we're going to bus in some of the high school kids to come in to look at the jobs available, but also working with Oak Grove and some of those other areas, see if they can bring in some of their residents for the job fair. And then November 30th, I think it is, we'll kick off the Very Merry Maumelle with our mistletoe market again this year. I think that's it. We have some, I think that's all. If you are not receiving our newsletters, please let me know and make sure that you can keep up. We send it out every Tuesday, and sometimes they're long, but it includes our events. It also includes businesses if they have an event they want people to know about, and it also has city events. So it's got a lot of information. But if you're not getting that, let me know, and I will be happy to add you to that.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for Kelly before we talk about the resolution? Thank you, ma'am. So this is just the annual resolution that is required to enter into the contract with the Chamber of Commerce. And the funds that are in here are already budgeted and were included in the budget for the year. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley?
Is this the same amount we had last year?
It is double the amount of last year. So it used to be 2,500 and it's 5,000.
Okay. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion?
Motion to approve resolution 2024-23.
There's a motion and a second. I'd like to address that a little bit. We did talk about that during the budget process, but we had gone a little, and I'll just address it. We've gone a little while without, I don't think we've ever adjusted, but we went a year or two, I want to say, where we didn't even renew it. The chamber at the time didn't want an agreement with the city, and we had that budgeted in. When Kelly came over to take over the place, we redid the contract with the amount that was previously in the budget, and then the discussion was if the chamber is going to continue to expand their services and involvement with things. I mean, we're not going to have an eclipse every year, unfortunately or thankfully. What is the services that are being provided for that money? And so it was, I think, I think we get a good bang for the buck in terms of the amount of money we pay to the chamber versus if you just look at a lot of the contracts that we have with the city. So I wanted to comment on that a little bit. But there is a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2024-23. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Resolution 2024-23 is adopted. Which brings us to Resolution 2024-24, amending the 2024 General Fund Budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-24, a resolution to amend the 2024 General Fund Budget.
All right, this is just our standard housekeeping resolution where we transfer the money we receive from insurance over to the department so they can actually use it. I'll open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with this at all. I did, during the finance director's presentation, did you mention 600,000 in storm damage? Is that what you said? Okay,
In total for the different departments, and really the person, if you have questions, that would be the most in the know, finance, but the city clerk was the one that handled that. We've done some of the resolutions already. I think there's still more to come with that money. But Madam City Clerk, do you want to just explain what, because it's for someone who doesn't know, you hear $600,000, $700,000 in insurance claims. And so what were those for roughly?
Sure. Essentially, every building that the city owns has sustained substantial damage due to the hailstorms. And because we were properly insured, fortunately, when we filed our claim with the Municipal League, it was apparent that those repairs needed to be done. So that's the lion's share of the $600,000. The great thing about it is we only had to pay one deductible. So there is a significant savings. And then we still have a couple of outstanding vehicle claims. But it was an unprecedented number. We filed roughly 30, don't quote me on that, but in 1 month, that's quite a bit, so.
wow. Wow.
A lot of hail damage.
Yeah, that was all from that February storm?
It was all from the same storm, yes.
All right, thank you.
It was all the same of one event, which
One.
is why we were able to use the one deductible. Otherwise, the deductible is, for the buildings, is 10 grand a pop or
$10,000,
something.
$10,000
And virtually
per.
every building.
Hmm. And then the damage that was sustained by quite a few of our vehicles was pretty substantial as well, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-24.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-24. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Resolution 2024-24 is adopted. That brings us to resolution 2024-25, the elected position of mayor. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas. A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-25. A resolution to express the City Council's view that the elected office of Mayor of the City of Maumelle should be a full-time position and for other purposes.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Mosley, this was your resolution, so I'll let you introduce it.
Yes, sir. This is simply to, I think the intention of the salary committee was that the $104,000 or $107,000, whatever it was, is to be a full-time salary. And so the effort here is to just make that clear that that's what that is. I was going to do it in the form of a ordinance, but we called the municipal league. The city attorney talked to the municipal league, and they basically suggested we just do it in form of a resolution. So that's what we ended up with. And if you have any comments you want to make on it, go ahead and proceed.
So that was the first thing that I noticed, was that it was a resolution and not an ordinance. And so I asked the city attorney why it was a resolution and not an ordinance, when I know, Councilmember Mosley, one of your initial goals, as you stated, was to, like, if it says the city attorney is a full-time position and the city clerk is a full-time position, why is it silent on the mayor's office? And so let's just make them all equal. And I said, well, if we're not supposed to have an ordinance for the mayor, are we allowed to have an ordinance for the city attorney and city clerk? And I presented that question to the city attorney not too long before the meeting today. And so I'd just like you to explain, why are we looking at resolution versus ordinances? And then are you aware of any exceptions that allow the city, an ordinance to be for the city attorney and city clerk? Or talk to us a little bit, Mr. Thornton.
I did speak to an attorney at the Municipal League on this. Part of the issue is that if you make it an ordinance, is there any remedy that the city council would have if not this mayor, but if some future mayor violated the ordinance and didn't work full-time or something like that? Well, I'm sure, as you all know, your remedies against elected officials, both one another and the mayor and the city clerk and myself, are very, very limited by state law. There is a very small time period in which you can do a recall, and then there is constitutional provision for charging somebody with impeachment, basically. And then there are a few scattered kind of fraud crimes for public employees that also say at the very end, and the person shall be removed from office. So there's no real mechanism. So if there's no remedy for it, is it even proper to make it part of an ordinance as opposed to a resolution? Another odd thing is that, so state law is silent on this as to whether it should be, whether the job is full-time or part-time, except for city administrator cities. The statute on those says specifically that the mayor's role is not a full-time job. And there is a principle of statutory interpretation that if, the legislature uses language in one place but not another place, you can infer something from that sometimes. So we have the fact that there's not really an enforceability. Caleb raised to me this point, well, should the ordinances about the city attorney and the city clerk be changed? I don't know. I'm a little caught on the back hoof on that. I think the issue of the enforceability is really the most persuasive from my perspective, is that although you talk to regular people, you're saying, and you tell them, no, there's not really anything you can do about that. If the mayor's not doing their job, like, your options are pretty limited. Well, that's just the way that the law is. The General Assembly can certainly change that and give cities and counties that extra authority if they want to. But as it stands now, you really only have a few options if you are ever confronted with an elected official that's not doing their job, not doing the duties that are proposed. I say that there's certainly authority for a city council to add duties to the mayor's job, to the city clerk's job, to the city attorney's job. There's certainly authority for that. But as far as making that a full-time versus part-time, I don't think there's much other than just something we've mentioned previously. By virtue of the size of the salary, by virtue of adding employee benefits to the job, you basically signal that it is a full-time position.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Gardner.
So this resolution is really not enforceable. It just states the intent. Is my understanding there correct, Mr. Attorney?
It states a sentiment or a feeling.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't want to be in the business of monitoring a future mayor's hours that he's punching a clock in the office. So even by us saying the mayor should generally be available at his office during regular business hours of City Hall, with a few exceptions there, where this doesn't, I don't want to monitor the mayor's hours of when he's punching in and punching out. So the mayor can still do as he pleases, or he or she pleases in that sense. Yes?
With the resolution? Yes.
Right.
A resolution, generally speaking, is not equivalent to an ordinance, so it doesn't have the force of law.
It just states an intent. It doesn't do anything else.
It says that if you pass this, that would be the city council kind of putting their opinion on the record that this is the expectation.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, I think, and that's what we're doing. You're right. It's not enforceable, but if it's been passed, and we've got a mayor that is operating a restaurant, insurance agency, something like that, where they're gone 3 hours a day, attending to their business, then I think it gives the council podium to say, hey, you're not being fair to the taxpayers. They're not getting their money's worth. So, you could say, well, you should voluntarily to, what percentage of your time you're working at another job or on your own business. If it were me, I would reduce my salary. For example, if somebody's retired and they decide they want to be mayor, but they really don't want to work full time, this thing here would say it would give us the ability to say, look, if you're only going to work part time, your salary ought to be commensurate with that, and reduce your salary. I mean, if it were me and I were only working 4 hours, I'd only take half the salary. So, I think it kind of comes down to whether do you think you think it's okay for a mayor to maybe perhaps rely on the chief of staff to run City Hall and just come in 4 hours a day? Is that right? So anyway, that's what you got to ask yourself. This thing just says, okay, you're getting a full-time salary. We expect it to be full-time. And Mayor, you don't have any objections to this thing, do you?
I do, yes, sir. Not to the principle of the position being full-time, but to the principle that the city council is saying and telling the mayor what it is and where you should be at a given time and when you're allowed to leave the office and not. Much like we talked about for the city council members' positions, a lot of the job isn't just what you see there, right? It's the communications with residents, it's getting out in the field and seeing things. In my case, I drive the city and report things on SeeClickFix. So there's a number of things, and so I object to the idea that the city council should be telling the mayor, you need to be in the office between these hours and these hours unless you have a meeting, an appointment, or things like that. I don't play golf, but I could conceive of someone running for mayor who says, you know what, we have too much government bureaucracy going on. I'm going to be a do-nothing mayor, and my goal is to go out to the golf course and hang out and golf all day. And that's what they run on, and people elect them into that position for that, right? It's an absurd example, but I'm trying to use that absurdity to say why I don't think that is it. I also don't think it's the city council's position to try to be a supervisor for a mayor, for example. So with my office, for example, I don't keep up with where each department head is at all times of all days. I give them the latitude to come and go, but get your job done. And so that is how I measure things, not based on when they're in the office or when they're not in the office. And so I think there's some philosophical differences that are there, and I object to the idea that the council should be telling the mayor not what to do. The council's the policy maker for the city and can set out various duties, but it's sort of the how those things get done, I believe, rests in the person that was elected to that position. Again, I don't have a problem with saying it's full-time. Anyone who runs for this position should know it's a full-time job. I don't like the idea that there is something that says the city attorney position is full-time, the city clerk position is full-time, but we're just silent on that, right? I don't like how that looks. I think it sends the wrong message. It doesn't convey things accurately. So I've asked the city attorney to kind of look into this idea. If we're not supposed to have an ordinance for the mayor, then let's look into whether we're supposed to have an ordinance declaring full-time or part-time for the city clerk and city attorney. Because if under the law they're all allowed to be equal, I think they should all be in that way. I don't like the idea that we have things that say different things for those positions in that regard. If there's no legal difference, then I think that's how it should be. So those are my thoughts. Councilmember Williams?
I agree that it should all be equal across the board, but I also want to again say, we pay salaried employees for the job, not by the hour. And if if we're going to clock in at 8 and leave at 4 or 5 every day and make sure that we get 40 hours then we should be receiving overtime as well when we have to take call or go out and look at flooding and look at all various things that go on in the city that I know, you do, and more than just come to the meetings. So I do agree that it probably should be an ordinance that matches the city attorney and the city clerk. I think it should be fair across the board. And I don't believe that we should be dictating your hours. I don't like that at all.
And if I could, because Mr. Mosley, you're going to say something, I want to add this. There are certain things that if you told me I have to be in the building to do, or I could do them in private, is going to be far less productive if I have to be in my office during the middle of the day. If I'm supposed to be reading something or writing something or doing these sort of deep, intensive things where constant interruptions are where those interruptions are really going to set you back, you don't want a rule that says I have to do those in this building, or it's not. It's a rule saying do this unproductively but be seen in your office. I wanted to say that before you had your piece, so you can respond to that too if you'd like, sir. Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, so are you saying you do some remote work yourself, is that right?
I think, yes, absolutely. Well, I'd argue that half of my job is not in this building. Half of my job is things like, I have a ton of ideas and thoughts about the pickleball program that I never had thought of before. And I got those by hanging out with people that played pickleball, and they were sharing their opinions. If you want to know what people think about our parks, go hang out at the parks and talk with the residents at the parks. See how different things are being used. And so a lot of my job is things outside of the building. I think that, yeah, that, and you have email and the ability to work from phone or outside. In fact, the C-click fixes, or I try and circle the city, and my goal is to catch things before people complain about them. I very rarely succeed, but that's one of my goals, and I hope it's one of y'all's goals too. Please report things on C-click fix. We're really renewing our efforts to hone in on those but that's an aside. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of the reasons I have anticipated that elected employees would eventually start trying to work remote quite a bit, and I really don't think that if it's something you could be doing here in the office, like writing a report or whatever, I really think you should be here and available as opposed to at a home or wherever. But I think that's going to be an issue coming down the road for every city, really, because of the internet and all that. You can work remote to a great degree. I mean, that's what I do. I don't go into an office. Mayor, do you have a part-time business or anything like that you operate, or you have another business?
No, sir.
I had a resident the other day call and say that you were operating an animal business or a snake business or something like that.
So they've read my divorce paperwork.
Yeah, they had.
And I own pets, and and that was referred to in that paperwork as a business.
Okay, do you still do that?
Do I do that? I don't think that's any of your business, sir. It takes precisely 0 hours during any work day whatsoever. So if what I do in the evening or in my free time, I think is up to me.
I would agree with that, but I would also say that if you've got another business during the office hours, like what I've got in that resolution, you should be dedicated to that business, which is the city. So, but I've got to take you at your word. I'm not a fly on the wall. I don't know what's going on.
To be clear, I have made $0 and 0 cents in 2024.
Okay.
So if you call that a business, then it's a very unsuccessful business, which is why I don't claim it as a business. It's a hobby.
Okay. All right, that's about it. I do think we ought to go ahead and pass this, but I do also see, the consistency issue. We ought to either say they're all, put in an ordinance that they're all full-time, or all, do a resolution like this for every council position, for every elected employee position. Thank you.
Madam City Clerk?
I just wanted to briefly say, according to Councilmember Mosley, you'd actually be surprised, this particular culture here at City Hall, fortunately, I was able to create a way where we can work remote. Most of us, 99% of us, voluntarily come in the office when we could be working remote. So I think this particular location and this particular culture and atmosphere, we don't work remote even if we have the option to. That's not something that I've seen taken advantage of, and I'm pretty stingy with who even has that sort of access. But because we all work collectively together, remote work really is not like something that we relish or, would want to have. I don't think that's an issue in this building.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, I just want to clarify one point. The city council can certainly set duties for the mayor, for the city clerk, for the city attorney, and I don't want anybody watching or anybody in the audience to get the idea that, if an elected official doesn't do their job, there's no remedy. There is a very specific remedy under state law for elected officials who fail to do, at least county and township elected officials, which would include us, who fail to do their required duties. That event is called nonfeasance, when you fail to do your required job. I have not seen it happen in the last 10 years. I don't know precisely what the procedure would be, but there's certainly a statute that says that there is a procedure to remove a person from office if they fail to do the job that they're supposed to do.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion on Resolution 2024-25? Councilmember Gardner?
I think the intent here is to say that the mayor is a full-time position. What if we struck that entire last sentence? And it simply says the position of mayor is a full-time position. Forget the monitoring his hours, all that kind of jazz.
What do you?
And resolution is not enforceable anyway, so I'm just feeling the temperature of the room here. I don't care either way. I don't like the way it's written. I'll put it that way. But if we're just trying to say the mayor is a full-time position, which I think we all agree it is, I don't think that has ever come into question, then we can just make a resolution stating that the mayor is a full-time position. Go with the first sentence, strike everything else.
Councilmember Mosley?
I'd be agreeable to that if that would get it passed.
I think that's the only thing that'll get passed, so I'll make a motion to strike the last sentence.
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a couple seconds to strike the last sentence of Resolution 2024-25. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of striking that last sentence signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-25. Second.
Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, before we go to the vote, I wanted to ask the mayor's thoughts of what he feels about this with the changes that have just been made.
The position is a full-time position. So I don't have a problem with that as a resolution. Although I'm asking the city attorney to look into whether or not we need to change the ordinances on the city clerk and city treasurer. Let's remember, or city clerk and city attorney, and let's remember this was originally brought up as just an idea to make all three things equal. They're not going to be equal because one's a resolution and two's ordinances, but there's a very real scenario. I'll sponsor an ordinance to remove the if it's prohibited language, that remove that language from the city attorney and city clerk position, I guess, and then we'd be in a position where if we want to state that in the council's intent, running another resolution to do that, I guess it could be included in a non-codified section of the ordinance, I don't know. But that leaves a weird scenario. I don't think there's been any confusion at all. This is us looking for solutions to anyway. There's no one who's been confused about whether or not the mayor is a full-time position or part-time position. So if we want to just pass things because it feels good or because it looks good, I've shared my thoughts on that. Councilmember Shin?
Would we be better suited to table this for 2 weeks and get a clarification on the city attorney and the city clerk, and then handle all this business at once?
Is that an open question to the city council?
Yes.
It's just a resolution, it's non-binding. I'm gonna vote for it so we can move on to the next agenda item. Just me personally.
I was just trying to decide whether to rescind my second or not, so.
We voted on the amendment.
The amendment has been made.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been amended.
Okay, did you have anything else, Councilmember Shin?
No, sir.
Thank you. So we've got a motion and a second on the floor to adopt Resolution 2024-25 as amended. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We will move on to the first reading of ordinance 1129, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1129, an ordinance to accept and confirm the dedication of certain streets and drainage in a development known as Maumelle Valley Estates, Phase 20, Phase 21 addition to the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
All right, go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I overheard a lot of the discussion in the subcommittee meeting from the Planning Commission, and there was some concern about drainage, and I did not hear how that came out. I assume everybody was happy with the drainage. Were all planning commissioners on board with that, Mr. Grimmer?
Mr. Grimmer, come on down, please.
Scott Grummer, 550 Edgewood Drive. Councilmember Mosley, the plat passed, so as far as drainage-wise, they were satisfied, yes, sir.
Was it unanimous?
Yes.
Okay, because there was one council member that seemed to have a lot of concern, but I guess her concern was alleviated, is that correct?
Well, so we're looking, the civil plans are still under review, but the things that we're looking at,
This is okay.
it's to resolve it, yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Any additional discussion on ordinance 1129?
Sir.
Mr. City Attorney?
I think it was unanimous except Commissioner Winnick recused, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Scott says I'm right.
All right, if there's nothing further, this will be on second reading at the next city council meeting. The next item of business is the first reading of ordinance 1130 to vacate plots of lots 695 through 726. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1130, an ordinance to vacate a plat of lots 695 through 726, and Open Space -1 of the Country Club of Arkansas addition to the City of Maumelle, filed for record as Book F, page 116D of the records of Pulaski County, Arkansas on January 23rd, 1998, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Mr. Grummer, why don't you come on down and explain this one, since we haven't had any plat vacations so far as I know in quite a while, if ever. I'm sure it's happened.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So this plat was platted back in the 1990s. It was originally designed for residential single-family development. Following that, years later, the developer requested a rezoning. Planning Commission and City Council approved the rezoning of the land to PCD for planned commercial district, but the plat still remained recorded at the county. The single-family lot plat does not conform to the zoning, so the landowner is requesting that the lots be merged into one large lot so that it can be promoted for its zoned use of a commercial district. But in doing so, the road, which was originally platted, and all the easements and right-of-way would need to be vacated. So the ordinance in our, that we have is vacation of lots, but mainly the right-of-way and the easements that are there, so that that does not create a problem with the new merged lot.
Thank you for that, Mr. Grummer. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, Mr. Grummer, so I've been confused over this thing, but it's making some sense now. So what you're saying is the residential plat is still on file, and that's what we're vacating? It's not the last commercial thing, right?
That's correct. You're vacating the residential lots as well as the right-of-way that was dedicated at the time of those residential lots
Okay,
being platted.
so it's, okay, so it's commercial, and right now it's just a blank page. I've had a number of my residents over there talking about that and asking me about it, and so that's why I'm asking these questions, so if they're watching, they can see what's going on, so.
Right, so the plat has already been approved for the one lot plat. This
Yeah.
is just to clean that lot up to make sure that there's no underlying rights of way that are in the way, because that'll have to be redesigned with the new development plan if it ever does come in the future. And that'll be something that'll come through city council.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, I turned my own mic off, brilliant. All right, if there's nothing further, this will be on second reading at the next city council meeting. Next item of business is resolution 2024-26, amending the 2024 general fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-26, a resolution to amend the 2024 general fund.
All right, thank you. So this was actually supposed to be a resolution sponsored by Councilmember Williams, but I am listed. And so I'd like to allow Councilmember Williams to explain what's going on.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I think I turned your mic off, or you turned it off. There we go.
It's on, is it on? Okay, okay. So, if you've driven by or walked past on the walking path of Lake Valencia for any length of time, you know that the fountain has not been working for a while. And we need the fountain, and I did a little research on why we need the fountain. There's just about 4 or 5 reasons, but the benefits of the fountain, other than the fact that it also needs lights, but we'll talk about that later. It helps the fish, keeps the water from becoming stagnant. It reduces odors, which has been incredibly foul in this heat. And with no fountain running, it keeps mosquitoes away, which is, you know, our state bird. It starves algae and it prevents freezing when it's cold, and it's just really pretty to look at. And I think I think we thought at first it was the whole thing was gonna have to be replaced, but now I think we're just replacing the motor, right, or the pump. And it's not costing as much as we thought it was gonna be.
It is not a whole new system. Parks is convinced that they can repair it, but it just was an unanticipated budget repair.
And it's been out for a while, and we need it.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Motion to approve resolution 2024-26.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Councilmember Mosley?
I would just mention some history. I think we've repaired that thing 2 or 3 times over the last 12 years. And each time it seemed like it was like $15,000. So this is a better deal here if they think they can fix it, because I think before it was the pump and all that, and it was just turned out to be a real ordeal. So I hope it works.
All right, I've got a motion second to adopt resolution 2024-26. If there's no further discussion on that, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That concludes new business. I wanted to mention mowing a little bit. That was in the residents' comments. Mr. Hogan had mentioned that a little bit at his department report at the last meeting, I think, and kind of preempted. We have been struggling a little bit there. It's the case every spring when the wet season comes. We are not rebounding as quickly as we would like to get back into mowing. I was talking to Mike earlier today saying, I don't know if first of all, we still continue to suffer shortages, staffing in that department. That's not unique to Maumelle. As a quick aside, Barry Hyde, the county judge, was at the Lions Club recently last week, and I asked him what the single biggest issue facing Pulaski County is. I was like, give me the dirt. What's the biggest issue you guys are facing? And he said hiring grounds crew and street crew. And so I don't know whether I feel comforted by the fact that other people are struggling or more depressed. The outlook for filling those positions in-house is not looking good, and we continue to offer salary adjustments there almost yearly to try and be more competitive. So with that said, really, there's limits to what we can do in-house. I've asked Mike to look at trying to hire a third-party service to come in. There's a few things I think we can do in terms of amending the mowing schedule. It's such that we're not on a hard, fixed 2-week cycle, that we're sort of modifying and hitting higher impact areas. So when we start to do that, though, you'll hear complaints. The Public Works maintains a lot of grounds that you may not know they maintain. Some of those grounds are as obvious to everyone as the median on Maumelle Boulevard. Some of them are areas you very well may think are private property, or it looks more like a park or something the Parks Department would be doing, or just a lot of areas alongside trails. So what we're looking at trying to do is reshuffle and say, hey, hit the high visibility areas first. Hit the area that, 3 people their backyards back up to that green space back there, and that city maintained green space. We're just going to have to let that overgrow in order to prioritize getting the higher visibility. What you'll find is that some of the most vocal people are the ones who have those common areas or open spaces behind their homes. If under the current resources we have, and that isn't money, y'all have continued to give us more money to recruit more people and pay more. That's not the issue. We're just not able to hire them. So when I say resources, I'm talking about the resources that we have in-house with the equipment and the folks. That's the only way we can think of getting that done. So there will be other areas that you will start to field some complaints on. I still think that's the right decision, because we're reprioritizing to higher visibility areas and letting some of the lower visibility areas go. Not completely, but just not prioritizing them as much. That and Mike is going to be looking into this idea of trying to hire a company that can take on more stuff. So we may see a budget request, and that may just be a transfer from some salaries, unfilled vacancies, to a company to be able to do that. But short of those things, I don't know, Mike, you're here, I don't know if you have anything to add or amend from what I've, said. I feel like I always put someone on the spot when I ask that, they feel obligated, they never really wanna say that.
Yeah, you know, we got great equipment. We got equipment that we can't put people on. You know, when you run these expensive mowers and stuff, you just don't want to put anybody on there. So, you know, they have to go through some training. So I will say, with sanitation and street departments, we got some great equipment. We just need operators, and to fill the position for that. And I know as a city, you know, I wish we could hire people to come in and run our equipment, but I know that's, you know, that's a liability and we can't do that. So, you know, I'm looking at any options, but, yeah, we got the equipment, we just need the people and the experience.
We, Mike himself has been out on the mower a little bit recently, which is not exactly what I'd say is the best allocation of management resources, but it's just when you get the crunch time and we get those windows of dry after the spring season.
Yeah, so we kind of been robbing Peter to pay Paul. Our street department has been helping grounds out with just about all of our guys from street departments. So, you know, with all the floods, the rain that we've had, we need to be on drainage things, but we're pulling from one crew to make another crew work because grounds is usually it's sanitation. Being down so many people right now, it's grounds, so we're having to compensate.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to comment on that because I had a long discussion with Mr. Hogan about that today, and then with public comment, it seemed timely to mention. And another option I said is maybe next year we just build in a bunch of overtime and say, hey, for the people we do have, it doesn't get dark until 8 o'clock. Let's knock it out at some point, but we'll have more discussions on that. Just a quick reminder, city offices are closed in observation of Juneteenth on the 19th, so that's Wednesday. Councilmember Mazzoni?
I'm sorry, I jumped the gun for Councilmember comments.
Okay, councilmember comments. Councilmember Mazzoni?
Hi, thank you, I do have one. Yeah, we have a member of the Maumelle Youth Council here tonight, which for a lot of people out there, Maumelle, if you don't aware of it, it's a really good program that the city does. So it really teaches our high school students the good citizenry, how a municipal city runs. They even have their own mock mayor and city council, and they do a ton of volunteer work out here. Probably the most obvious one that you see around is the Halloween haunted house. But they do a lot behind the scenes, and to get the number of high school students out doing that is pretty good. So I think that's a good program that is always good to keep running.
One of the things I look forward to most about the National League of Cities Conference, in fact, I think in some years it's been the primary factor in going, or a big contributing factor, is the ability to go to dinner with those who are on the Maumelle Youth Council, because they go to DC if they've earned their spot and done all the work. And it's always interesting to see the youth in the community who are far more involved, invested in their community than I was at that time. So it's encouraging to see the youth of Maumelle and kind of with the direction that we're going. Councilmember Gardner?
Thank you, Mayor. Can you advise when the council will be able to learn about the sanitation rate study and what we're looking at there in terms of rate changes and possibilities?
Sure. So they're supposed to come in on the second meeting in July. I got a draft back a little while ago. One of the things we wanted to present was different options. Those are things like we've talked about. It's been discussed moving from the small basket of recycling to a big tub. There's been discussions or comments received about the leaf pickup and the leaf vacuum trucks. So just a few different options. It was all in the report. The draft I got, it wasn't clear at the end what the impact of how those all were. So I sort of sent it back and asked them to re-clarify this so that at the end we've got very clear options. I haven't seen that final draft back, but currently tentatively slated to be presented to the council at the next city council meeting. The second city council meeting in July.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up here. I had a lady, a very nice lady, but very, very upset lady about Lake Willisteen. And she emailed me, and so I emailed her back and said, did you send this to all the council members and the mayor? And she said, no. And so I said, please do that. So I can bring it up in front of the council and everybody know. Hopefully everybody got that. Yeah. Maybe not.
I've received emails from someone regarding Lake Willisteen recently. I can't say whether it's the same person that emailed.
All right, well, I'm going to just ask the question she was interested in, because I said, I don't know the answers to that, but she was saying that she thought, she was very interested in having that invasive growth eliminated again, and she understands that it's hard to kill and all that, but she was wanting to see it dredged out again, and she was telling me she thought that there was nothing in the budget last year to do that, and so nothing got done last year. Is that true?
Well, no, so we haven't had the lake dredged in so far, and it's at least 10 years, as long as we've been involved. Dredging is where you go in and you take a more shallow lake and you remove all the silt. Which is something that I think it's about time to do anyway, so that was what my discussions with them were. As far as the removal of the growth that grows every year along the banks of Lake Willisteen, I believe we pulled it out. We don't do the whole lake, they do portions of the lake each year, and so they just cycle around that. I don't know of, I can verify with Philip, but I believe that occurred there last year, like it has every year, but I can verify that.
Okay, I'd appreciate it on that.
We didn't cut any fund. I've been told we cut funding to it and are allowing it to occur, and I'm not aware of that. So.
Okay. And also I wanted to follow up a little bit on Mr. Tierney's comments about Lake Willisteen, the asphalt being in bad shape. I think you were talking about that one meeting. Is that right?
That might be somebody else. No, that was me.
That was you? Okay, Mr. Shen. Yeah, I think hopefully we can put that in the budget this year. I don't think the whole Lake Willisteen Trail needs to be repaved. I mean, there's some parts that are just fine, like on the dam and that sort of thing, but they've done a great job in smoothing down those rough areas. But a lot of people have been asking me if we were getting ready to pave it, if that was a precursor to paving, and I said, I don't think so, but it would be nice if we did go ahead and kind of spiff up some of those areas.
They are definitely different. They're not necessarily associated. Like the milling or the grinding down of the roots is not directly tied to when they're coming into overlay. Like streets, when they go in and mill down the street, you can bet pretty shortly thereafter they're coming to asphalt it. So those are two separate things. We just I've had Mike go out. We're looking at phasing the entire improvements at Lake Willisteen pathways. I think some of it should be overlaid. Some of it probably needs to be more than just overlaid, because you can. So that's one of the things we're looking at. I've got all the square footage or linear footage just last month, I think, from Mike on that. And I think we have some slated, or we're looking at that for some of the pathway improvements, or the path improvement budget capital line item that we have there. But yeah, it is, and I think they did some a few years ago, but it's just, you have to keep after it.
Okay. Did you end up communicating with that lady? Were you able to help her out some?
What was the last part of your?
Were you able to explain to her what was going on? She had a lot of.
I think, yes, there was a couple emails back and forth. I was at the Municipal League Conference. I'm not sure if she followed up to my last email. I had multiple emails with her.
Okay, thank you, sir. I've got more, but I'll yield to whoever's got the next one.
That's you, sir.
Oh, okay. Park on the River. I was signing up for my pickleball key the other day, and while I was there, I asked them if they were taking reservations yet for Park on the River, as far as what we talked about doing October 1st, going to to lease that out to the residents using kind of North Little Rock as the model. And they said they hadn't been instructed to start doing that yet, and I was wondering is there a plan, or if not, I just wanted to bring it up to make sure we don't forget about doing that and kind of have it ready to roll when October 1st runs around.
I can get with Philip and get an update on that, but, so far as I know, they were rolling it out. I'm not sure who you talked to, if it was one of the rec aides or one of the, yeah.
It was just somebody at the desk, yeah. Because I said, can I make reservations? He said, no, we can't do that yet. So, anyway. And then I wanted to comment on pickleball. I've played 3 times, and I understand the mayor's already pretty much of an expert out there.
No.
And
No.
I've played 3 times, and we're not ready to get serious yet at all. It's working on hand-eye coordination, but it's been a lot of fun. And everybody that's out there seems to enjoy it. First time I was there was only 1 extra court, and then the last 2 times I was there, they were all full. So there's appears to be a lot of interest at this point. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any additional council member comments? City attorney comments? City clerk comments? At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn the city council meeting of June 17th, 2024.
I've got a motion and a second. Do I hear any discussion on that? Didn't think so. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned.